Ecuador's electoral authorities announced the closure of the polling stations of the referendum promoted by President Daniel Noboa. Diana Atamind, head of the National Electoral Council, declared that at the end of the day, 72% of citizens participated in the electoral exercise. Earlier, Atamind explained that the setting up of several polling stations was affected and delayed, mainly on the coast of Ecuador, due to the outflow of a river provided by heavy rains, preventing its inhabitants from exercising their right to vote. The electoral authorities will now move on to the ballots counting.
In the midst of its worst energy crisis, a marked economic recession and the highest homicide rate in Latin America, Ecuador goes to the polls this Sunday, April 21st. President Daniel Noboa promotes a referendum that, according to his promises, will allow the construction of a new country.
Today, criminal organizations and corruption are trying to put obstacles in our way. But we are going to get out of this with strength and with our best weapon, which is our vote. We are going to promote the referendum this Sunday.
There are 11 questions, most of them related to security, such as the role of the armed forces in the fight against organized crime and the increase of penalties for serious crimes.
Traditionally, consultations have been used to validate presidential positions, but many of them are anchor questions. What are the anchor questions? Something that no one could say no to, and then, taking hold of that anchor question, making a campaign to vote in favor of the other presidential intentions or pretensions. Although it worked for Lenin Moreno with the 7 times yes, at the time, for Guillermo Lasso, when he proposed his popular consultation, he did it in a way that generated complete rejection from the population.
Some consider that the electoral process has been used by the president to legitimize the role of the U.S. Southern Command in the alleged fight against organized crime, the presence of the military on the streets, and to justify the abuses of the armed forces, as denounced by human rights organizations.
We are not talking about assistance, we are talking about forms of government, about control of prisons or the streets. We have painfully seen summary executions in the country. We have seen a young man who goes out to sell a puppy and is executed without any process.
Moreover, unions denounce that behind the security questions, there are other core questions that jeopardize workers' rights.
Vacation, subsidies, and overtime rights are eliminated. Workers under this type of contract will have to be available 100% of the time, hoping that there will be a contract for 2, 3, 4 hours of work.
Another question that does not convince progressive groups is that of international arbitration for investments.
Article 422 that they want to amend in this referendum prohibits the Ecuadorian state from submitting to international arbitration and yielding sovereignty. In the annex to question D, the article is completely changed, and the state is completely exposed to international arbitrations. Gentlemen, out of every 10 arbitrations, the state loses 7, the other 3 never wins. It only reaches judicial or extrajudicial agreements before the respective award. In all of them it has to pay.
13.6 million Ecuadorians are called to the polls to express their support or rejection to this electoral initiative proposed by a president whose approval, according to several polls, in March reached almost 80%, but who has now faced a strong rejection after decisions such as those of assaulting the Mexican embassy in Quito and the blackouts of more than 8 hours a day. The truth is that Noboa is risking a great part of his political capital this Sunday. Elena Rodriguez, teleSUR, Ecuador.